folks. Welcome to the Seven Figure Network podcast. My name is Melford Bibbins, and today I'm joined by Dr. Dana McGrady. And it's very cool because those of you that know a little bit about Conchetta and myself know that we built our entire structure around working with health and medical professionals. So it's really fun for us when we can have a doctor on here to talk about how it's impacted their practice, their lives, their family, everything, because that's always been so important to us. And we want you to understand that doctors and health professionals and other medical professionals can be incredibly successful with network marketing and still not feel like they're crossing ethical boundaries or any of that kind of stuff. They are trying to help the world just from another angle. So Dr. Dana, thanks so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate you being here.
You're so welcome. I'm so excited. I was so happy when your wife reached out to me. You guys are really rocking it. And I'm grateful and honored to even be included. This is such a great honor.
Thank you, Dr. Dana. I appreciate it. And I know you're still practicing. I know you've got 2 clinics open. So do me a favor and just tell me, how did you get into the industry in the first place?
Well, you know what? I have kind of a cool story. I can honestly say I have holistic medicine in my blood, functional medicine, any kind of prevention of disease. I grew up in a very organic family. My father was a medical doctor. He was a head ER doctor, and after he saw a lot of hypocrisy and in the insurance companies, he would say they don't care about people's health. They won't even, he just would get so mad when he would see it was a business and it was all about money. And he left and he started doing holistic, and he ended up training other doctors on how to look for the root cause and how to turn disease around and how to get the body to heal itself. Not just for small cases, for large cases. So my whole life, I would have people coming up to me, your dad saved my life. Your dad taught me how to save other people's lives. So I grew up with that legacy. And when I started going to college, I started going for pre-law. Oh. I have no idea why, but I did 6 months of pre-law, and I realized I didn't want to argue for a living. I didn't want that energy, and I left and I started going to an integrative college in Orlando.
Mm-hmm. So tell me, I love the fact that you mentioned your dad. When you were watching your dad, did you, because I'm sure you have some pushback here and there because you're so forward thinking of things. Did your dad have much pushback when he was dealing with other doctors when he made that transition?
Yes, of course he did. They all told him he was crazy for leaving the hospital. He was one of the first doctors to spearhead bringing homeopathy and IV therapy over from Germany to Florida back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. And he got major pushback because he cured cancer in an 82-year-old woman. She had 4th stage breast cancer. After he was done treating her, her tumor was completely gone. There was no cancer in her body. And then her family turned around and sued him. And he got his license taken away because, not that he cured cancer, he got his license taken away that he didn't cure cancer with conventional treatments like chemo radiation. Because he cured her with natural therapies, he got his medical license taken away. And at that point, he said, I don't really care. I don't want to practice that shape of medicine anyways. Mm-hmm. So he turned around. They thought they were squashing out a little spark, right? But really he turned into a giant wildfire because he just started teaching other doctors how to do what he did. So it actually ended up being a really great thing. And he didn't just stop with her. He went on to cure cancer and just help people with autoimmune and Lyme disease and people that are distraught and they're stuck in this inflammatory cycle of taking meds that just make them worse and side effects that make that. And he helped people turn that around.
What an amazing way to grow up. Growing up in those
I know.
You must have just been so open, because that's the thing. It's medicine is one of the most major barriers we deal with. It's nobody wants to talk about money. Nobody wants to talk about race. Nobody wants to talk about medicine. It's one of those kind of untouched things. So to have your dad just break that thing open when you were a kid must have really shaped everything you did for the rest of your life.
I think it did. Yeah, I'm grateful for the experience. I'm grateful for the mentorship that he gave me. When I first opened my practice 18 years ago, my first practice, he sat in with me on every single patient. And I started at a young age with, cancer patients right away. And so I'm grateful for the training I got. And now 18 years later, I have, 2 clinic locations with patients that even though I've really rocked it in network marketing, I've never been able to fully step away. I've always cut back, but I can't fully step away because of the patients. Your heart's with them and you really want to help them.
Yeah. Well, it's so wonderful you're talking about cancer, because oncologists were one of our favorite folks to work with. And the reason being is, they've spent the last, 12, 15, 20 years learning how to treat cancer, but not how to treat sleeplessness, indigestion, stress, all the things that go along with either having cancer or the treatments, the typical traditional treatments that people have. So we always found that was where network marketing was so beautiful with some of these products is, they don't have to think about, sending them for omeprazole for their belly. There's a natural thing to make their belly better or to sleep better. So I'm so glad you mentioned that. So let's make that leap. What brought you into network marketing now?
So network marketing fell in my lap 8 years ago. Just from falling in love with some products that I started using on myself. And then at that point, I was like, I'm obligated to share. They weren't professional strength products that I was used to using, just like oncologists and doctors and nurses that are working their butts off in the Western medicine field. They're all angels. We see it now they're working with the tools they're given. They're working with what they've been taught. But more and more, a lot of them are turning to holistic modalities because people are asking for it. And so that makes me happy, right? The trend is now on our side. Whereas when I started 18 years ago, people looked at me like I had 3 heads when I said I was going to school for integrative medicine. They were like, what is that? Prevention of disease. What a thought, right? And so then 8 years ago, I just fell in love with some products. And the woman that sold them to me said to me in my ear one day, have you ever thought about building a residual income? And that was my kicker. That was the moment where I was like, what is that? Yeah. Because she got me at just the right time. I was slaving away 3 clinic locations at the time, 2 small toddlers. And I had just found out I had a new baby on the way, a 3rd baby that was a surprise baby. And so I just was so overwhelmed in life with working these long hours in the clinic that when she said something that triggered lifestyle freedom in my brain, it really unlocked this vision of me being able to take my kids to school and me being able to work more virtually, and then fell really in love with helping other people gain that financial and lifestyle freedom as well. That's how the team building aspect comes into it. And it's just been a really fun ride. I'm really madly in love with our profession. I think so many people don't really get it. They don't see the community, the culture, the relationship, the lifestyle freedom, those things, the getting people out of debt, all of those magical things about our industry. If more people knew that, there would be a lot less haters and a lot more jumping on the train. And I see more and more every year, especially now with inflation going up, and the pandemic taught us to do a lot more things virtual, and more people are jumping on the train to the no overhead train, right? I've had my brick and mortar businesses. I understand what overhead is. So no one can tell me that it's too expensive to build a network marketing. It's actually incredible for that reason, that it doesn't cost much to join.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. It's we've owned huge brick and mortar companies too, and we're happy to be rid of them. It's nice to not have tens of thousands of dollars in overhead every month. And until you have it, you don't realize, until you have tens of thousands of dollars in overhead, until you realize that you've got $25,000 in overhead, and unless you make $25,001, you're not feeding your kids.
You got it. There were some months when I was building, I was like, I don't even know what I'm bringing home I'm just trying to pay the overhead. And so that really kind of puts you in a hamster wheel as well. So network marketing was my ticket out of the hamster wheel of my brick and mortar.
Tell me what you think. Has being a doctor impacted the way you lead your team?
Yes. Yes, because I, for 18 years, have been coaching patients, educating them, patiently educating them on how to change their diet, how to start good lifestyle habits, how to really get into exercise as a habit, how to sleep incredible, giving them coaching. And so when you have a brand new person on your team, you've got to be real patient. You've got to hold their hand and you've got to coach them along the way. And that obviously leads to duplication on a mass level. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I do think that it was very helpful.
And do you think that actually passes down to your folks? I mean, is that, it's funny to ask you this, but does that feel duplicatable?
You know what? Things that you do bad duplicate way more than things you do good. And I know you know this.
So funny.
So everyone's a work in progress. I found that teachers do really good in this industry. I think they're some of the best.
Yeah.
And duplication only happens if the person wants it really, really bad. Yeah. Right? Yeah. They're not going to duplicate anything good. They're going to try to get out of all the action steps if they just don't want it bad enough. And so when they want it bad enough, it'll duplicate.
Yeah, well said. So, hey, do me a favor and tell me and again, I don't want to get negative about the last couple of years, but what has been your secret to keeping your team growing over these last few years of the challenges? I mean, again, being a doctor, you know that, telemed saved a lot of doctors. I mean, a lot of doctors were, on the verge of going out of business if it wasn't for telemed. How did you make the transition to still keep your build going at the amazing rate you've seen over these last few years?
So the only constant is change in network marketing.
Cheers.
That's one thing we've always noticed. Leaders become resourceful. They can jump off a cliff and build a plane on the way down at a certain point because we're just expert pivoters in order to stay in this industry. So I just kind of at first, we were all like, oh, wait a minute, what are we doing here? And then we had a captive audience of everyone that was forced to stay home. Mm-hmm. So that actually launched us into a major growth mode. And so that was great because everyone was home. We were doing power hours every day. We were helping people find an online source of income when they were forced to not be in their job. Mm-hmm. And so we just found whenever there's chaos, there's opportunity. And so that was how I tried to look at it. I definitely feel like I could have grown faster if the pandemic didn't happen. But I'm super grateful for the growth I have had through the pandemic because mm-hmm. I've heard other stories through friends and leaders and things where their businesses went way down. So I'm looking at the growth I have had over the last 2 years, which is exponential. And I'm like, yeah, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for where I'm at. I'm grateful for the lessons and the pivots and the more people learning online. And I'm grateful for the massive amount of people it's drawn into the business.
Yes.
Right? Because the world changed just a little bit. So that's the ways to look at it.
That gratitude is very well placed because you're right. I interviewed people from all over the place and a lot of companies had a really, really, really hard time.
Oh, yeah.
Over the last few years, which is heartbreaking. It's people who are, still doing things right, still trying to plug along. But, it's, as you said, we're in the business of pivot. And the minute you forget that, you're going to get pushed to the side. So let's flip the coin. Let's talk about retention now. What has been your means of retention over these last couple of years? Because again, new folks you've never physically met, very different way of doing things. Have you changed the way that your retention model sticks, or has that just carried through the whole time?
No, those habits I stayed the same. I mean, retention happens when you have a good product.
Amen.
When people fall in love with the product. So as a doctor, I'm always product education. Why are you taking this product? Mm-hmm. This is why. This is what it's doing at a cellular level. This is what. So when you explain it that way, and also you explain that health happens over 30, 60, 90 days before any cellular change happens, mm-hmm. it helps people to have a little bit more of a long-term mindset when it comes to taking products. But when you have great products, I think retention's pretty easy. Mm-hmm. But I do think being customer forward really helps retention. I think being really madly in love with your product, creating raving fans. And I really love having a good customer group with a lot of testimonials. I think that keeps the retention high.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great. So I got to ask, now that we're in this sort of hybrid way of doing things, we're very, and again, we both live in Florida, so thankfully we're being let loose a little bit quicker than most other folks. So we still have that hybrid model where you're going to be able to see some folks in person and some folks social. How are you guys driving forward from here today? Like, do you have an established social recruiting model that you're going to stick with? Or are you going to try and evolve back to the older model again and try and get more face-to-face time? Your clinics are open, right? I mean, you're seeing patients, so that. Yeah. No, so you personally, but how about the rest of the team? Are they feeling like they're going to sort of stick with online because they like it, or are they begging to go back to, belly to belly?
Belly, there's something about belly to belly. Like I built initially with all home meetings and belly to belly, and that was just really my love, and then I loved taking a break from it during the pandemic. That was such a nice needed break and moving more things on Zoom. I think people find their strength. When they stick to their strengths, they're good. I have some people on my team that are incredible at networking meetings, and they're on the chamber and they do so good that way. And I have others that do really good by doing vendor events, and it's happening more and more now. Yeah. But there are others that are just crushing it on TikTok and crushing on Instagram Reels and really doing good on social media. So I try to make it so they don't do all social media and no belly to belly, right? And just actually letting people hear your voice. We're a high touch type of industry. People need to know we care. In order to purchase from us, they have to know that we care about them. So I love sending out the thank you messages. I love, really celebrating the team and showing them. I think I'm a fan of belly to belly, whether they believe it or not. I train both ways. People can pick their strengths and run with it.
That's great. That's the way to be successful. Meet them where they are. the old famous meet them where they are. How about international expansion? I mean, this is kind of a neat question for you because you're a doctor. When you reach out about something, it's there's a whole new level that we're talking about. So how has international expansion worked for you and concurrently with your team over these last few years?
Good. I have a rocking team in Vietnam. I was fixing website issues for a team in Jamaica this morning.
Cool.
With customer service and launching Costa Rica right now.
Oh, congratulations.
So I'm a fan of global expansion. I think we have products that need to go worldwide. It comes with its own set of issues. I have teams in Africa too. And there's always going to be as we get a little bit better, we can grow a little bit more depending on the company's reach in that company or in that country. But I'm a fan of international expansion. I want a global business, and 80% of network marketing is done outside of the US. And one thing I love is the attitudes of people that aren't American are way more open to network marketing. They're so much more open to a good work ethic, and they're hard workers, they're grateful, they're happy for any kind of opportunity for income. Whereas sometimes you can get a little bit more of a negative response in America. So it's kind of refreshing to build outside of the US, although obviously we're always going to have a very high US, presence always.
I so appreciate you saying that because I hear that so seldom. Folks don't realize that once you get out of America, the pessimism drops like a rock. And I'm an American, obviously. So I love my country. I'm not saying anything negative about America, but Americans are just pessimistic. It's just who we are. And you see that a little bit in the UK too. But aside from that, people.
I think. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I think certain people got negative connotations of our industry from past companies that maybe put a bad taste in people's mouths, and that we're trying to unravel those things here in US, whereas in other countries you don't have to worry about unraveling anything. They love it from the second you talk to them about it. So that's why it's just easier.
Yeah. So you mentioned Vietnam's growing so fast. Is Southeast Asia something that you really concentrate on because you like that mentality?
I want an Asian business. It's easy. I just love digital products in Asia work really, really well. They like having physical products too, but they're good to run with digital products. And in Africa now is a really good market, and then Europe is a really good market. So and right now Latin America, we're trying to launch Latin America company wide. So I I just want a little piece of each pie. I don't care. I'm grateful for anything I get.
Yeah.
But I love that you can know someone in Texas that knows someone in, Mexico that can build a huge team. I love the fact that we're a giant web of relationships where we can really do great things as long as we stick together and make a big impact that way.
That's a real golden nugget that I want people to understand, is that you don't have to jump on a plane to fly to Vietnam. It would be wonderful to do it, because I'm sure they would incredibly appreciate it. But
they wanted us to come there.
You go to certain places. Where I grew up in Connecticut, there's a big Vietnamese, area there. There's a big Brazilian area there. You can go and meet, 500 Brazilians in one day that their entire family still lives in Brazil. It's like, or Southeast Asia. There's just so many folks that have found little pockets in America where you can meet 100, 200, 500 of these folks, and they're going to introduce you to thousands on end.
True. You got it. Yeah. Find the pockets here, and then they know people in their country. Yeah.
How are things going in sub-Saharan Africa?
In Africa, so South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, and Ghana are the main places where my company is open. Mm-hmm. And I have a few pockets. There was at one point a bigger business. The pandemic kind of made it a little bit harder for them to run physical products because they were very strict over there.
Yeah.
But it's all starting to open up a little bit better now. South Africa completely closed down with Omicron, if you remember, in January. So that's all opening back up again now. So I think it'll get a little bit easier as we go. That's
great. Hey, I got to ask you the parent question.
Yeah.
And I know there is no such thing as balance in life, especially for folks like us. We're toggle switch kind of people. But what do the kids think about the business? Are they excited to see mommy's not only a doctor but this incredibly powerful entrepreneur? Is that because, again, you grew up in a family where it sort of established your life path from watching your dad do amazing things? How do the kids react to the business?
What's funny is I don't often think that they understand. You know what I mean? The reason I say is I was driving with one of my best friends, and she said to my oldest daughter, "Do you know, your mom's a kind of a big deal? Do you even understand? She's a big deal."
Right.
And she was like, "What? No." You know what I mean? So they don't know. I'm just mom to them, and they're just healthy, happy, incredible humans, and they have a present mom now. Yeah. Whereas they didn't before. You know what I mean? So I worked this hard to be present. That's all I cared about. I wanted them to grow up with a mom that wasn't at the clinic all the time, that was home and, around their schedule. So that's all I cared about. But they do know that I educate. They know that they have to be quiet when I'm on a Facebook Live. I had a big Facebook Live last night, and they knew they were putting the dog in the crate. And so they're great about that. They're amazing about that. I think if I start doing a lot of home meetings in my home, they've come to a couple events too, which is fun. When they come to events, they really get to see the big picture. Yeah, no, that's great. Hey, do me a favor, Ann, how can folks reach you? What is your best contact information? My best contact information is obviously Facebook, Dana McGrady on Facebook, McGrady, on Instagram at Dr. Dana McGrady, Dr. Dana McGrady. And then is that basically what people are doing? Social media? Social media is the perfect way. Yeah, it seems like I just want to make sure that folks can reach you, because, it's not only you building a team at an incredible rate, but you also still have your clinic side, and you are a practicing doctor. So I want people to know about this stuff. I want them to know what you're doing during your days. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll give it to you in my bio too, so they can get access to my clinic for telehealth, access to my clinic for integrative medicine, and then also if they are interested in building, they'll be able to find me on social media for sure. Love it. So I got to ask my favorite question. What is your 6-month goal? Ooh, oh man. What immediately popped in my head was double my business. So that was my immediate pop in my head. And I think I could do it. I doubled my business last year. So I'm going to say double my business. I know that's a big, scary, audacious goal, but I'm going to go with it because I like putting those messages out. I think it's important. And it also makes me hustle, because then I have to own up to the goal I gave you.
Yeah, it has been recorded. It's officially out in the ether.
Yes, let's do it.
Hey, Dr. Dana McGrady, thank you so much for being on today. This was great. I love the fact that we come from several different angles that a lot of times you just don't get to hear. You don't get to hear about network marketing coming from that side. A lot of folks go to doctors to try and sell them network marketing products, but they don't often get to hear about a doctor being so accomplished on both sides. So I really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. And I appreciate what you guys are doing. This podcast is inspiring a lot of people. My first year in the business, I was so religious about listening to podcasts where people were interviewing top leaders because I thought if they can do it, I can do it. Yes. I just need to know their secrets. And if I listen to enough of them, I can hear a secret from this guy in Australia and a secret from this woman in Europe and the secret from this woman in Alabama. Like they're all doing it the same way, but they have little tips and tricks that have shortened their curve. And so that's what you're doing. You're helping the newest person to build their way out of whatever hole they're in to gain some kind of lifestyle freedom. And I'm really, really grateful to be here. And thank you so much for what you're doing.
Thanks for saying that, Dana. It means a lot to me for you to say that. It's so cool. So Dr. Dana, thanks so much for being on today. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Bye.
Hey there. I hope you really enjoyed the show. And now I have a question to ask. Do you want to know how to build a 7-figure network with just 3 to 5 enrollments a month? That's just 3 to 5 conversations, not 30 to 50. That means we only have to convince 3 to 5 people to say yes to build a real 7-figure network. Scan the code or click the link at the bottom of this page now to discover the step-by-step method for exactly how you can add hundreds, if not thousands of customers to your downline by recruiting and enrolling businesses and health professionals onto your team that have hundreds of built-in customers that need your product or opportunity. Get the 7-figure network book now, and let's start building massive volume with an enormous downline of businesses, health professionals, and customers.